Positions winning from the blinds. In online poker games, the blinds are where win rates go to die if you treat them like autocall positions. You are forced to invest money, you act first post-flop, and rake is taking a bite out of every small edge spot. That combo means you need a plan, not vibes. Your job from the blinds is not to defend wide because GTO says so, or set mine and hope. Your job is to make your opponents pay for position with correct pre-flop pressure, disciplined folding, and smart 3-bet frequency. Why the blinds are different. Position is not just a label, it is an expected value engine. In the blinds, you are out of position versus almost everyone, almost all the time. That means you realize equity worse, you face more barrels, and your marginal hands lose money faster. Online, where players multi-table and open buttons relentlessly, the blinds become a high-volume battlefield. The best regulars do not defend because they can. They defend because they have a range plan that protects them from getting run over. Big blind versus small blind, not the same job. Big blind is a price-driven seat. You already have 1 BB invested, and you are often closing the action versus a single open. That makes calling viable with more hands, but only if you can avoid punting post-flop with dominated trash. Small blind is a leverage seat. You are rarely getting a good price to call. You are almost never closing the action, and you are post-flop out of position in a bloated pot if you flat. In practice, small blind is a tight, aggressive 3-bet or fold seat in most online pools. Your 3 pre-flop tools from the blinds. From the blinds, every hand you play should be assigned to one of 3 buckets. No drifting. First, fold. The I want to see a flop impulse is expensive. Rake and positional disadvantage crush speculative calls. Second, call. Mostly big blind versus late position opens when you are truly getting a price and the hand has playability. Think suited connectors, suited broadways, and some offsuit broadways that are not reverse implied odds disasters. Third, 3-bet, your main weapon. You win expected value by denying equity, isolating weak opens, and building a range that can stand pressure on later streets. Playing the big blind, defend with structure. Most online sites have aggressive button opens. Good. That means you have fold equity with 3 bets, and you also have profitable calls because of pot odds. The key is picking hands that do not torch money when you miss. As a baseline, you defend big blind a lot more versus button than versus under the gun. Who is left to act matters pre-flop even when you are in the blinds. Versus under the gun, you are up against a stronger range and your implied odds are worse, so you tighten up significantly. What I want you thinking about is equity realization. A hand like Ace-9 offsuit has raw equity, but it realizes poorly because it makes dominated top pairs. A hand like 7-6 suited often realizes better because it can make strong draws and 2 pair-type hands that can actually win big pots. Playing the small blind. Stop flatting like it is 2009. Passive small blind calls are a leak in modern online poker. You call, big blind comes along, you go multi-way, and you are first to act post-flop with a capped range. That is the opposite of printing. Most of your small blind strategy should be 3-bet or fold, especially versus cutoff and button opens. You are using aggression to compensate for positional disadvantage. Your 3-bet range should include value hands plus bluffs that have good blockers and playability, like Ace-5 suited, King-9 suited, Queen-10 suited, and some suited connectors at the right frequency. There are exceptions, like certain rake structures and certain opponent profiles, but the default for most online pools is simple. Flat less, 3-bet more, and know why you are doing it. Building a practical 3-bet strategy from the blinds. Think in terms of 2 clusters, value 3-bets and bluff 3-bets. Your value cluster is the hands that can happily get called and still have excellent equity, like pocket queens, and better, ace-king, and often pocket jacks and ace-queen suited depending on positions. Your bluff cluster needs logic. In the blinds, you prefer bluffs that either block strong continues or play well when called. That means suited wheel aces, suited broadways, and suited connectors more than random offsuit junk. Context dictates strategy, so versus a button who folds a ton to 3 bets, you expand bluff 3 bets. Versus a sticky button, you tighten and bias toward value and stronger suited hands. Sizing matters too. In general, online pre-flop, you want a larger 3-bet size out of position than in position. You are charging the opener for position, and you are reducing stack-to-pot ratio to make post-flop decisions cleaner. Rake and why it changes blind defense. Rake is not an excuse to play scared, but it is a real expected value tax on small pots. Marginal big blind, calls that might be barely break-even in theory, can become losers in high rake environments. That pushes your strategy toward either folding more trash or 3-betting more to win the pot pre-flop or create a pot where your edge is not eaten alive by rake. If you are defending wide, make sure you are defending with hands that can win meaningful pots, not hands that make weak one pair and pay off. Relative strength is everything, especially out of position. Exploitative adjustments you should actually use. First versus tight openers. Fold more. 3. Bet a narrower value. Heavy range. Do not donate with dominated junk. Second, versus loose stealers. Add big blind calls with suited hands and add 3-bet bluffs with blockers. Make their opens pay for themselves. Third, versus players who overfold to 3 bets. Increase 3-bet frequency from both blinds. You are printing immediate expected value. Fourth, versus players who never fold to 3 bets. Stop lighting money on fire with weak bluffs. Value 3-bet wider and choose bluffs that have real playability. Fifth, versus 4-bet happy. Regulars, tighten your small blind, 3-bet bluffs, and keep some calls in big blind if the line is stable. If they are 4-betting too much, add 5-bet jams with the right value threshold. Hand scenario. The blind tax collector. Stakes, 100 NL online, 100 big blinds effective. You are multi-tabling and see button opening 50% from the button. Preflop. Hero is small blind with 8-7 suited of spades. Button opens to 2.3 big blinds. Big blind is a straightforward regular. You choose a 3-bet to 9.5 big blinds. This hand is a strong candidate because it has playability, it can flop draws that continue aggressively, and you punish a wide steal. Button calls, big blind folds. Flop. Queen of hearts, 6 of clubs, 5 of diamonds. Action. You are out of position with an open-ended straight draw. In a 3-bet pot, you keep the initiative and bet small, around 25 to 33% pot. You're attacking fold equity versus hands, like Ace-Jack offsuit, King-10 offsuit, and worse, and weak Queen-X that hate pressure, while also building a pot for when you turn a straight. Button calls. Turn. 2 of spades. You pick up additional backdoor equity. You can continue barreling at a healthy frequency because your range contains big overpairs and ace-queen, and this card does not meaningfully help button's capped calling range. If button is a fold-heavy regular, you fire again. If button is a station, you slow down and realize your equity. Common blind leaks I want you to eliminate. First, set mining from the blinds. Calling 2s through 6s purely to hit a set is hope poker. You miss most flops, you fold too often, and rake punishes you. Second, defending offsuit junk. Hands like King-7 offsuit and Queen-8 offsuit look playable but create dominated top pairs that cost you stacks. Third, small blind flatting versus button. You invite big blind in, you cap your range, and you play guess poker out of position. Fourth, 3-betting without a plan. If you 3-bet, know your value threshold, your bluff candidates, and how you respond to 4 bets. Key takeaway. From the blinds, you win by playing fewer passive pots and more intentional aggression. In the big blind, defend with hands that realize equity well, not dominated offsuit trash. In the small blind, default to 3-bet or fold versus late position opens because calling creates low expected value, high rake, out of position problems. Build a clear value and bluff 3-bet structure, then adjust based on how often the opener folds, calls, or 4 bets. Now, let's test your edge. Question 1. What is the small blind's default preflop approach versus cutoff and button opens in most online pools? Answer: mostly 3-bet or fold, flat far less. Explanation: small blind flats are usually low expected value because you rarely close the action, invite the big blind in, and play out of position in a bloated, rake-taxed pot with a capped range. Question 2. According to the article, why can the big blind call wider than the small blind preflop? Answer: the big blind is price-driven. It already has 1 BB invested and often closes the action versus a single open. Explanation: those pot odds can make calling viable in big blind, provided you avoid dominated hands that punt money post-flop. Question 3. What is the key concept you should think about when choosing big blind defend hands? For example, why 7-6 suited can be better than Ace-9 offsuit. Answer: equity realization. Explanation: the article notes Ace-9 offsuit may have raw equity but realizes poorly by making dominated top pairs, while suited connectors can realize better via strong draws and 2-pair and straight outcomes. Question 4. How does rake change blind defense decisions, especially for marginal big blind calls? Answer: rake turns small edge, marginal calls into losers, pushing you toward folding more trash or 3-betting more. Explanation: the article describes rake as an expected value tax on small pots, so you want hands that can win meaningful pots rather than weak 1-pair payoff hands. Question 5. In the provided small blind versus button hand scenario, with 8-7 suited on Queen 6-5, what flop continuation bet sizing does the article recommend? Answer: bet small, around 25% to 33% pot. Explanation: the article says to keep the initiative in the 3-bet pot, attack fold equity versus weaker hands, and build the pot for when you complete the straight. Study hard, play smart. That's it for now. I'll see you in the next lesson.